Welcome back to Stephen Retention. Another therapy couch session here today. I've actually been watching Rambo lately for the first time in my life. Watched Rambo, obviously with Sylvester Stallone. I watched 1 and 2, and I started watching 3, and I'm about to finish it today as well. Made me think about your calling, your purpose, and without giving away any spoilers, I kind of think of Colonel Sam Trotman, who's the secondary character in the Rambo trilogy. I kind of think of him as like God. And Rambo is representative of everyone else, of every other person in the world. And the Colonel often comes into the picture in the trilogy as this guy that kind of guides Rambo back into his path, guides Rambo back into stability, guides Rambo back onto his purpose. And, the Colonel, we could symbolize as God. We could also symbolize him as Semen retention. He's the voice of reason. He's the one that says to us, look, you're not meant to just be this normal dude that works in construction and builds, people's houses. You've actually got a higher calling that you need to fulfill. And in Rambo's case, he's meant to be this killing machine, which that's his purpose. His purpose is for war. He's a killing machine. He's an expert at that. He can survive any harsh condition. And it got me thinking, how many times in my life have I kind of faced almost like this Colonel Trautman kind of, situation where I've had this person kind of pull me back in line and say, you know what, that's not you. Why are you doing that? And to think about it really deeply, like pondering all the interactions that I've ever had. I've only had one person in my life ever do that to me. And that's my current gig booking agent, who books all my gigs, and he likes to talk to me, and we kind of talk about things and just, keep up to date and all that kind of stuff. Yet he understands the struggle of a musician. He understands the growing pains and what to do in this kind of like career and all that kind of stuff, because he's a bit older than me, and he understands all of it. He's been through it, even when times change and, new trends occur and technology and social kind of like, I guess, patterns and, ways of being change. There are fundamentals in life that don't change, and he understands that. So when I think about it, and think about having that kind of figure, if you don't have that figure in your life, you just got to take care of your gut, and you got to listen to your gut instinct, because that is your antenna. Another one of those antennas, like your third eye, that connects you to God, like your heart as well. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that we've got a higher purpose. And as much as we, might like to fade into the background and, fit with the NPCs, so to speak, we're actually kind of repressing something more powerful that is always going to leak out of you, whether it be through frustrations, anger, lust is the big one. So, for example, Rambo wanted to take a break from being a war, hero and all that kind of stuff, and assimilate into society. And this isn't really a spoiler. This just is just the reality. He couldn't even hold a job when he came back from the war. He couldn't even get a normal job. Yet in the war, he was a hero. And that's, I guess, the point, is that We have our environments. We have our lane to stay in. We have, I guess, this path that we've been pulled towards and pushed towards, almost predetermined. Yes, we've been granted free will, and we're allowed to try and assimilate with NPCs. But at the end of the day, we've got a soul that is crying out. We've got something that is wanting something extraordinary, not the ordinary. And what I've found is through research and through listening to some other podcasts and discovering some other philosophers' ideologies, is that there is a concept of soulless human beings, and we, in this current era, we call them NPCs, but there's actually documented in philosophical and, medical kind of texts, not talking about like science experiments texts, but I'm talking about more philosophical kind of texts, that these guys are talking about soulless human beings. And if you think about it, it makes sense. It makes sense that we do have these human beings that actually don't have a quote-unquote soul, so to speak. We talk about the chakras and how there's 7 chakras and you ascend those 7 chakras and you basically reach like enlightenment, godhood kind of thing. The bottom 3 chakras are more of the animalistic, instinctual chakras. So the bottom one is the root chakra, which is survival. Find a place to sleep. Don't be putting yourself in danger's way. Don't sleep on the highway. Don't sleep in the middle of the ocean. Don't sleep on top of a tree that's about to fall down. That's survival, okay? Then you got your sacral chakra, which is more to do with your sexual instincts. It's like, okay, well, find a person to reproduce with, or find a partner and all that. Make sure that the human species survives, so therefore reproduce with someone. Don't worry about the consequences. Just reproduce, because it's ingrained in you. It's instinctual, it's natural, okay? So that's the sacral chakra. Then you've got the solar plexus chakra, which is like, okay, well, now that you've got a place to live and you've got a kid, now you need to prove to the world that you're actually something. So go get that job promotion at the cracker factory. Go get that higher paid office job, instead of pursuing something that you want to do. Go prove to your baby mama. Go prove to your baby mama that you can earn more money, that you can provide more. That's the solar plexus. It's about status, it's about power, it's about money. Majority of the human beings will peak there. They could get a really well-paid job, but then they'll come to their deathbed and they'll be like, I regret this family, I never wanted to do any of this, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't ascend any further. They actually didn't even understand how to cultivate their soul. They didn't realize the soul is actually a physical substance, and us retainers, we already know that the soul is within our semen. Isn't it obvious? This is the thing that creates human beings. So it must have a soul inside it. Therefore, if we hold on to it, we gain more soul. So once you ascend past those lower 3 levels of being, that's when you start to cultivate the soul. Then you get into your heart, which is about loving and feeling real love and passion and healing and stuff. Not passion as in like lust-driven passion, but like passion for life, joy, okay? Then you get into the throat chakra, which is expressing yourself, saying your truth, even as different as it can be, projecting your vibration out into the reality. Then we get into the third eye and the crown chakra, which are a bit more kind of, interdimensional, higher kind of perspective, um, intuitive, just a bit more complicated and uh, less able to translate through the act of speech and language and YouTube videos. So, with that being said, those are those kind of extra elements where we can cultivate our soul. And I'm not talking about these Hindu kind of philosophies because I believe in Hinduism. I've got a Buddha facing me right now, right next to a Yoda. And then I've got a Holy Bible on my table. And I'm talking about chakras here. So let's just say I'm quite an esoteric person. I take from many different religions. So I respect all religions, actually. So anyway, the message that I want to kind of put forward is with this Rambo kind of analogy. You know those kind of environments where you're just like, I'm here with my people. I'm here in my element. When you're rocking out as a musician and you've got the crowd in the palm of your hand, that's great. I love that. I also love when I'm playing very introspective, kind of softer music where it kind of fades in the background and the attention isn't really all on me. That's also another way of expressing myself. It's just about creating a vibe rather than being the shining star at the point. So you can oscillate between those kind of modalities of, I guess attention and vibration, but you're still within a spectrum of vibration that is in alignment with your purpose. It would be different if I were to be, as previously mentioned in my other video, being a teacher where I'm teaching someone that doesn't want to learn music. Like that would be kind of pointless. It would be a bit of a waste of time. Whereas if I didn't have the ability to harness crowds with my voice and with my skills as a musician, maybe I would be more inclined to teach music because I know that the best that I can do with my passion for music is to teach people how to play music and help them with their first steps at becoming a musician. Am I going to be able to teach them how to sing in front of a stadium of 8,000 people? Probably not. Whereas me, the guy that did that when he was 17 years old, sure. I mean, I was playing in front of hundreds of people when I was 5 years old because I loved it and I projected that energy and I knew that was what I wanted. So I guess going back to that whole Rambo analogy, it's like I've always known that I was meant to be this kind of person. I always knew that I was going to be a performer and a musician and an entertainer. And of course, I've been taken off path at times and I've sometimes lost confidence or I've just hanging around losers too much and all that kind of stuff. And it happens. It happens to the best of us. It happens to rock stars. It happens to, innovative musicians out there. They fall off the radar. But at the end of the day, this semen retention, this God, this connection to source, this thing that is anchoring us to our purpose, that is our Colonel Troutman. That is that Colonel Sam, the guy that comes back to Rambo and says, look, Rambo, you're not meant to be out here sweeping the floors of the monastery. You're not meant to be out here trying to park cars as a job. You're meant to be out here jumping into a helicopter and throwing some Russian pleb out the window whilst you fire away at some crazy Vietnamese mercenaries. And look, I don't have anything against Russians or Vietnamese. I'm just saying that was Rambo's job, okay? He was an American war hero, okay? Was he real? I don't know. It was a book, apparently. But, yeah, semen retention is always going to be knocking on our door and say, look, is this the girl you're really meant to be with? Seriously? Is this the girl you want to walk down the aisle with? You want to raise a kid with? The one that you've hidden through the back door of your house? Or are you going to remain celibate? And are you going to pull yourself in line, get your stuff together, and remain on semen retention? Or in your case, semen retention. So if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know how you're going on your journey. It doesn't matter if you're on day 1, day 100, day 1000. Doesn't matter. We're all in this together. And yeah, hope you're all doing great. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.